Welcome to My Hometown, the program that explores clubs, organizations, businesses, and issues across Nassau and Suffolk counties and sheds light on the different towns that are making a difference.
Welcome to a special coronavirus edition of My Hometown. My name is Bill Horan, and I'm here with my co-host, Nassau Community College student Corey Kaufman, coming to you live via Zoom and being socially distant as recommended. And today we're shining the spotlight on a nonprofit organization that's helping Long Islanders in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic.
With so many people losing their jobs due to coronavirus, more families than ever are finding it hard to make ends meet, keep food on the table. And that's where today's Spotlight organization shines, Bill.
We've talked about them on the show before, but now more than ever, we feel the need to remind everyone of the good work they're doing. Our guest today is Marc Suntup. He is the Vice President of Development of Island Harvest. Marc, welcome to My Hometown on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.
Thanks so much for having me with you.
First of all, tell people who have not heard about Island Harvest, please explain your mission and what you do year-round.
Island Harvest is a leading provider of food and nutrition education. Its basic mission is to reduce hunger and to end hunger and reduce food waste on Long Island. We've been in existence since 1992, and obviously there's been a huge impact of the coronavirus on our work in the last 3 months, but particularly as we reach a growing population of those in need.
And I guess you're the most popular business on Long Island right now.
As I said, there's a growing demand, and Island Harvest has been out there on the front lines, sort of a first responder in trying to get food to a very growing population. Feeding America, which is a national organization of food banks, estimates that there's a 47% increase in the need for food on Long Island. That is a huge demand. We normally service and feed about 300,000 people a year. And right now we have seen tremendous growth in the last 3 months. We have already distributed over 2 million pounds of food and approximately 3 million meals since March 9th.
And sadly, someone recently told us that the same person basically who was donating food to an organization like yours 3 or 4 months ago is now one of the people that you're serving, meaning you're handing out food to them. And I'm sure you've seen that as well as many others.
We've been doing some mass distributions, which I'm sure I'll talk about throughout our talk here today. And we are finding that there are cars and people lined up that are past contributors who are now online for food.
I think that brings it out better than anything. Corey?
Can you just mention again, how many pounds of food do you distribute in a normal year? And how has that changed since the start of the pandemic in March?
Sure. So in a normal year, we're distributing about 10 million pounds of food. And here we've distributed about 3 million since the pandemic began. The other shift, the big shift that's taken place in our normal model of for food, Island Harvest would normally be about 85% of our food is donated through collections of food, through restaurants, through various places that are making food available to us to distribute out to pantries and to other sources. Since the pandemic took place and so many of those places are closed and it's been difficult to get food through collection, our model changed from about 15% of food that's purchased and 85% that's collected to 85% of our food being purchased and 15% of our food being collected.
You're actually buying where you used to get, if I understood that correctly, 85%, basically 90 cents on every dollar came out of donations. Now you have to purchase that food?
Correct. And so at the very beginning when the pandemic started, we were all sitting in a meeting and the first topic that was discussed was where do we get food to distribute immediately. And the board of directors authorized us, and the organization authorized us to purchase $250,000 in food, which we were able to acquire fairly quickly. That is now up to about $2 million in food that we have purchased since the pandemic began.
Marc, somebody hearing this, we all want to feel we're doing something to help our neighbor in some way, even if it's small. So if somebody has some food donations, whether it's the regular people like you and me sitting here talking, or a restaurateur or a food store, how do you accept food donations? Do they just bring them to you? Do they call you first? Do you pick them up? How is it under the new normal?
Sure. Yeah, under the new normal. So we have had collections. The town of Oyster Bay held a collection for us some weeks ago at John Burns Park in Massapequa. We collected on that day approximately 20,000 pounds of food from the community. People driving up, and it happened to have been that they had canceled their antique car parade, and people were driving. Over 800 people drove up in beautiful antique cars that we would all like to have, bringing food. And as I said, we collected about 18 to 20,000 pounds of food on that day. They'll be doing it again on July 11th, I believe, at Marjorie Post Park in Massapequa. There are drive-in events that are taking place where cars are asked to bring a donation of food, non-perishable foods for Island Harvest. We have the ability for people to drop food at any of our offices as well in Hauppauge or Bethpage, and that information is available on our website, which is www.islandharvest.org. So there's a variety of sources where people can bring food to us, or they can call us, and we can arrange pickup of food as well. So any of those sources would be very helpful to us.
Marc, it sounds like a little professional trickery on your part, something worthy of a good lawyer. You have an antique car parade, and then you get 20,000 pounds of donations. I think you're a very smart man, a very good organization based on that.
Well, now, we're very thankful to our partners in government and our partners in the corporate sector and in the foundation sector. And we've received individual contributions from almost 10,000 people of contributions of all sizes since March 9th.
And how about, are there some foods, again, we're talking about the neighborhood people, the you and me's of the world. If we want to bring something to you, are there some foods that you'd say you really need and others you won't accept? Let's say something is expired. A lot of people think, oh, I'm near the expiration date. And technically, from what I understand, that's not bad food, but it may be past the date. Is that something you could not accept, would not? Do you accept it? Do you take pet food, etc.?
Yep, we do. We do accept food that is past the expiration dates. Obviously, as long as the food is fresh and cans are in good condition, and we do accept that. We accept pet foods. We accept baby foods. We certainly do not look for perishable foods or food in glass containers. It's difficult to sort and to distribute that, so that makes it a little bit more difficult for us. But foods, the more nutritious, the better. So we would encourage foods that have a longer shelf life and are nutritious foods to be dropped off. But all of that then gets sorted and distributed back out into the community.
And I've talked to another organization, and a lot of times they ask actually for gift cards to the kind of stores that obviously have either a large food department or a supermarket. Is that something preferable to a check or a monetary donation?
Well, I can, as a good example, we have an individual who recently dropped off a number of gift cards that we're able to provide for people who come into the office and need assistance. We don't generally distribute those at mass distributions, but we have so many people who turn to us for assistance that when we do have a gift card, we're able to give those out, and it's certainly very helpful. So if anybody has that gift card and wants to make that available to us, to a particular supermarket or a store, we could certainly help to distribute that out in the community, and it's appreciated.
You are listening to My Hometown on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. My name is Corey Kaufman, along with Bill Horan, and today we're talking with Marc Suntup, VP of Development for Island Harvest, who is helping to prevent hunger on Long Island, especially in the wake of the coronavirus. Do you mind if I ask, where do you get the money to buy the food? Is that money donated as well? And if so, how can people donate?
So we have, as I mentioned before, we've had over 10,000 contributors since the pandemic began. We are securing food through purchases now from corporations, foundations, and individuals that have provided funds for us to do that. As I said, it's over $2 million that we've purchased in food already. If you go onto our webpage, you'll notice that we have opportunities for giving through our crowdfunding pages and through our web pages. We've had a number of people, individuals in the community, who have created their own crowdfunding page. They have the opportunity to put up a goal for what they're looking to raise and a little message of their own for why they're involved with Island Harvest and to support Island Harvest. And then they normally will send out notifications to their various contacts saying that they have a page, and you can go directly to their crowdfunding page on our website. You can also go onto our website to make gifts, or you can call us at 631-873-4775, and we can accept contributions through credit cards or provide you an address to mail a contribution.
And who are some of the business partners you have worked with throughout these troubling times that you would like to publicly thank?
Sure. I know if I mention some, I'm going to probably forget another half, so it's always risky to do that. But we've received substantial support from banks and financial institutions, from unions, from insurance companies, from all various sources. We've partnered with Bank of America. We've partnered with the New York Mets Foundation. We've partnered with various foundations and corporations, from National Grid to PSE&G and Empire Bank and Esquire Bank and Citibank. And as I said, there's just too numerous to mention, and we're so grateful to every one of them. Teachers Federal Credit Union, all of the various corporations, Subaru dealers and on Long Island, and all kinds of, as I said, I know I'm going to leave a lot out if I mention some, but we're very grateful to those that have supported us and allowed us to meet the needs of the community.
Marc, you mentioned a website. Can you give us that website where people can go to find out more?
Sure, www.islandharvest.org.
Okay, it's .org, so we have to remember that because we all kind of were grooved to put in .com.
Absolutely correct.
I'm thinking of a little commercial I can throw in here for you. If there's professional offices, perhaps they could put up something too to make a small collection, whether it's an accountant, attorney, architect, etc., where we go in. People often want to help. Maybe it's a little out of the way to do something or to take the next step, but if you're there, you have some loose change or a few dollar bills, we could drop them in and help out. And we're helping our neighbor in a tough time, and we're, as they say, we're all in this together.
We have had many companies that have done that exactly as you said, law firms and accounting firms. They've reached out to their employees. Some of the companies have matched the gifts from their employees. And then we've had kids in communities who did car washes and raised a couple of $100. We had a number of young women who walked from Hicksville to Stony Brook, which is a marathon of 26.2 miles, and raised money for that in miles for meals. And
I like that, miles for meals. That's cool.
Yeah. So they've done that for us. We've had a young lady who celebrated her 10th birthday by asking her friends and family to donate $10 each in honor of her 10th birthday. So contributions, large and small, enable us to do our work at all times.
Marc, if someone's listening and they say, he's talking to me, but, I'm a bit shy about it because I was an executive last week and now I'm out of work. How do they call you first? Or you've mentioned food banks. Where are these food banks? And is it like a supermarket? We drive up and say, give me 3 pounds of coffee, 5 pounds of butter, or do they get a bag, or do they put in an order? Can you kind of educate us?
Sure. It's somewhat all of the above. We have food distributions that are mass distributions and smaller ones out in the community. We've done pop-ups at over 30 school districts. In effect, what's happening in this pandemic with the kids out of school, so many depended upon receiving their breakfast and their lunches in the school. That stopped. So we did pop-ups at over 30 school districts. We have over 300 partner agencies that work with us at pantries in communities all over. We're able to assist you if you're out in the community and you need assistance to find a nearby pantry. If I can give you a number that people can call for that.
Sure.
They can dial 631-450-3775 and put in their zip code, and it will tell them where the nearest food pantry is. So the
Mark,
number,
if you don't mind, I'm going to interrupt and just repeat that number, 631.
631-450-3775.
And if we get time before the end of the show, I'm going to ask you to repeat all these numbers because they're so important, because that sounds like a great way to do it without embarrassing people. So if they call that, they could find out the nearest food bank.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but thank you.
Yep, nearest pantry. They can also call our office here at 631-873-4775, and we can direct them to the nearest pantry, or they can come up to our facilities in Hauppauge or Bethpage to pick up food supplies. We have prepackaged boxes that we distribute. We also have boxes that we have been distributing at mass distributions. We did the Westfield Mall in Massapequa and the Westfield Mall in Bayshore. In Massapequa, we had 3,600 families drive up in cars to receive a meal box, produce, and a gallon of milk. We did the same for almost 5,000 in Bayshore. That program was made possible through funding by the state of New York, through Governor Cuomo, in a program called Nourish New York. And the purpose of Nourish New York was for food banks to be able to purchase food from farmers and dairy farmers in the state of New York, because they had lost so many sources of sales of their food. With schools closed and restaurants closed, you may have seen a visual of hundreds of gallons or thousands of gallons of milk being dumped because they didn't have a place to distribute that milk. So Nourish New York enabled food banks like Island Harvest to be able to purchase from local state farmers and dairy farmers, distribute that food out to the public.
Sounds like a great program.
It's terrific. So we'll be doing another mass distribution in Nassau County coming up. That will be in July at Nassau Coliseum with our sponsors of that out of Nassau County and the New York Mets Foundation and RXR. And they'll be sponsoring that. We'll have another one later in August, a mass distribution. So we're planning a number of those for large distributions. We also do small ones at schools almost every week and in the community sites every week. And you can call us or contact us to find out when those are.
How many families normally need help with food on Long Island, and how many would you estimate need it now since the start of the virus?
It's a great question. So we estimate that since the start of the coronavirus in March, we've assisted 60,000 families for food. And that's through our pantries, our mass distributions, our pop-ups. So that is a tremendous increase in the number of people turning to Island Harvest.
And you mentioned, Mark, the waste of food, and you just talked about the milk. Is there another way you could tell people that we might be wasting food that could be, whether it's a restaurateur, a delicatessen, a food store, that could be given to you and be very nourishing and worthy to your people? You mentioned that even if it's close to or over the expiration date, you would take it and consider it. Is that correct?
Right. We have partnerships, as I said, so if anybody were to call us and said that they had food available for pickup, in most cases we have a network of volunteers that could get to those places and pick up food for us. We have a network of 12,000 volunteers at Island Harvest, and we try to find volunteers as much as we can to get out there in the community. It's been obviously reduced to how much contact there can be during the virus. But we will certainly arrange wherever we can to make pickups of food that's available to us that we can then distribute back to the community.
You are listening to My Hometown on the Voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. My name is Corey Kaufman, along with Bill Horan, and today we're talking with Marc Suntup, VP of Development for Island Harvest, who is helping to prevent hunger on Long Island, especially in the wake of the coronavirus.
So if people have this, let's say 6 cans of soup that they're not going to use or they want to donate, they don't even have to go to your food bank or your organization. They could call you, someone will come by, pick up a bag or a box and take care of it.
I'm honestly, I'd have to check on the quantities to which we can send in pickups. So if they can call us, we can let them know if we're able to accommodate that.
Beautiful. Thank you, sir. That's a great idea. And again, I'm thinking the office building, someone could just put a box out, get a few, perhaps 100 pounds of food, and I'm sure someone would pick that up.
We usually try to pick up wherever we can get food. It's a little bit more difficult during this coronavirus.
Oh, I'm sure.
Is there a limit to how much food someone can take at one of your drives? How do you decide who gets what? And does anyone need to show proof of loss of job to participate?
Sure. We don't ask for any proof of need. We assume that anybody who's turning to us is in need, and that's why they're coming to us. So we certainly don't discriminate in that way. When we do our distributions, we do have a set box and packages that we provide. In fact, at the distributions, people do not get out of their cars. They open their trunks. We will usually put in a box of food, a bag of produce, milk. So depending on the drive, we'll give them the most recent one we did. It was about 2 pounds of chopped meat, a few pounds of cheeses. There was yogurts, variety of produce and apples and onions and potatoes, the milk, as I mentioned before. So we tried to give them what would essentially be enough food for a family of 3 to 4 for 3 to 4 days.
Mark, I'm sure money is always accepted. Am I correct? Money donations?
Absolutely. We depend on that. And Island Harvest is very proud to be able to say that 94 cents on every dollar goes directly to our food distribution, our programs, and our services.
If someone wishes, and I know I have a lot of older friends who they're still very leery about getting back into stores, compromising medical conditions, etc. So if they want to do this, is there an address where they would send that to you? And could you give us that address?
For contributions?
Yes.
So they can send contributions. You can call and we can take them by credit card. Contributions are accepted, and our address would be 15 Grumman Road West, Suite 1450, Bethpage, New York, 11714.
And you just mentioned, of course, if it's easier for people, they can just call, give the credit card information, and they can put it right on there.
Absolutely.
Beautiful. You've got this down really well between the trickery with the antique cars and the credit cards. You're doing a great job.
And they're certainly going online. Anybody can make a gift online, which is always a very simple process to do and a secure way to make your contribution.
And it's a great feeling, too. We all want to help our neighbor. I think, honestly, we don't know how, or puts us sometime in an embarrassing situation. So if you have something, and I'm guessing no matter how small, get that gift in there or make it a weekly small gift, and Mark will be grateful for it.
We can do recurring gifts as well. People have the opportunity when they go on the website to make it as a one-time gift or a monthly recurring gift. And we're appreciative of every gift of every size.
Mark, this is, of course, an unusual time, which nobody, I guess, even knew about, prepared for, and kind of took us all by surprise. But what does the future hold for Island Harvest? Are there plans in the making? Are there things that we should know about, or that maybe some of our listeners would or could like to get involved with?
We believe at Island Harvest that the need for food is going to extend for quite some time. There's a significantly high unemployment rate. Poverty on Long Island has increased. The prospects for people returning to their jobs is becoming very difficult. And we know that the pandemic has created a kind of a new normal. And so we are planning and extending out in our plans that this pandemic, the effects of this pandemic will extend well into 2021. So in all of our planning for the kinds of services and programs that we're creating, we're anticipating that this will have a much longer duration.
Sadly, I'm guessing an organization like yours can never have too much food or too many volunteers or too many donations.
You're absolutely correct, Bill. In fact, with the start of the pandemic, we set up a temporary sorting facility in Bethpage, where the food that is collected is sorted in the warehouse and then packaged out to go to our various distribution sites.
If you could leave our friends listening with one parting thought about Island Harvest, what would that be?
It's a good question. So I think the one parting thought would be that the need is increasing for food. The Long Island has always had a need for food beyond what most people think it is living on Long Island. How many people are in need? In a normal year, we are feeding 300,000 people who are depending upon us for nutritious food. I think the message would be that this is a problem that has been here for some time and will continue. Resources are important. As I mentioned, Island Harvest is very proud that 94 cents on every dollar goes out to our programs and services. If you need help, do not hesitate to call us and contact us. That is what we're here for. And we're proud of the fact that we're able to assist those at their time of need. If you can help, call us. And that help can be in the form of contributions or to volunteer. That help is always needed. So I think the general message is that Island Harvest is an important organization for the many on Long Island who are struggling with hunger. And we're proud that we're able to meet the needs of as many as possible on Long Island.
Mark, before we wrap up, give our audience some of that key information, because I remember .org. That's what's staying in my mind. So if you want to tell us the website and one or two of those key phone numbers that we should know about.
Sure. The website is www.islandharvest.org. You can call our offices at 631-873-4775. And if you need to find a nearby food pantry, you can call 631-450-3775. Put in your zip code and you'll find the nearest pantry. You can also text to contribute at that same phone number by texting Harvest at 631-450-3775.
And maybe if we want to be a secret agent for you, we can go to our favorite doctor, lawyer, accountant, etc., and say, put a little bottle up here and do a little collections. If they're in a business building, they've got 50 or 75 other offices in there. That would make a nice little gift to Island Harvest.
No, that's a great suggestion. Wherever employees can contribute at a company, or individuals can go to their colleagues and friends and family. It's greatly appreciated. As I said, our contributions range from those who can make small gifts up to larger grants and larger gifts. But every contribution means a lot to those who depend upon us. So we welcome that.
We want to thank our guest, Marc Suntup, Vice President of Development for Island Harvest, for being with us here today and for doing the amazing work that you're doing. And know that WHPC is always here to help you and support your efforts. And hopefully today we'll be bringing in a lot of extra food for the donations. Thanks so much for being with us today. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much for having me.
I'm Bill Horan. I'm here with Corey Kaufman. Thanks for listening to this week's edition of My Hometown.
We like to get your feedback on My Hometown. Send your comments to whpc@ncc.edu. Nassau Community College, where success starts and continues. Till next time, this is Bill St. James. And remember, there's no town like your hometown.